Alright, before we get into today's video, where we're basically breaking down G2 versus FPX, I think it's time we go over the World Pick'em, and so I finished on 69 points unintentionally, and yeah, it was fairly close to it in order of who actually went through. The only one I didn't get right in the quarterfinals was Griffin IG. I thought Griffin were going to basically smash IG. And everything else I got correct, except the world champions, which is kind of sad. And I was doing my research, and I kind of had a look and stumbled across the celebrities tab. Now, I don't know about you, but finishing third between everyone and the celebrities is actually really good. And one thing that I even found even funnier was if you didn't pick anyone, didn't make any changes to any of the picks, and you'd finish in Gromp. Yeah, I made sure, and you'd finish high about here, tied 20th, which I find quite funny anyway. But we got a very good knockout stage. We finished top of knockouts. Yeah, we got all 35. We could have got 40 if we got the IG score right, and that put us in first for that. For this, we finished in 12th, just behind Vedius. Always a good position. And yeah, as a whole, we do finish in third. I'm pleased with my predictions. Leave a like down below what you and a comment on what you actually got, and I hope to see you guys after this breakdown. Peace. Hey everybody, what is going on? It's your boy Izlogic.business, and welcome to an Anarchy analysis. Today we're going to be breaking down the World Championship final between G2 Esport and FunPlus Phoenix. Now, we're going to jump straight into a game one, and this is going to be an interesting series to break down for you guys. Alright, so starting off with game one's draft here, and looking at the picks and bans for this game, we can notice that G2 let quite a lot of FPX's big picks through here. They let the Nautilus through, the GP through, and the Lee Sin, and they're sort of common trends that we're going to be seeing in this entire series. Now, on the other side, FPX were forcing G2 into a catch-22 with their bans. They basically said, look, we're going to ban away the Kaiser, we're going to ban away the Gragas, and we're going to ban away the Syndra. They're all sort of hinting, we want Perks to play Xayah here. And G2 are like, okay, well, FPX don't really have that high priority in playing Xayah as a whole, so we might as well take her off the board and kind of give ourselves an okay bot lane here. Now, what we don't realize is who's G2 got left at ADCs they could play. There's Ezreal, who is a meh champion for Perks. He's like underperformed this Worlds on that champion, and then that's pretty much nothing else there that we know of. So they kind of put G2 down this road of like Perks is not going to get that strong of a champion. And if I remember correctly, FPX literally first pick for themselves Nautilus. Now, this is a Doinby classic, and Doinby is very, very good on this champion, and it's not only him who could play the champion. Crisp could also play this champion. It's a very high flex. Also, another thing to point out is they also hovered the Rise, kind of looking at G2, hey, we know what you're going to pick, so pick it already. And G2 obviously do take the Rise. Rise is so strong, it allows whoever's playing it the freedom to split push and also roam around the map. And if that went on caps, it could have been a, hey, yeah, we're going to be fine, he's okay, he can roam. But it ends up on Wonder as a whole, so obviously it's going to be a little bit harder for G2 to roam, because Wonder's not on that champion. So, who do G2 get as a roaming champion in response to the Nautilus, who wants to be roaming around the map and helping its jungler? They pick up Pyke. Now, one big issue that I could note from this game was that G2 were always behind on plays. in this game, literally the roams were late coming out of the pike, and the Nautilus had already made it to top. And if we look at the first actual dive of the game, it was set up by a split jungle, and the top side of the jungle going to Tian, who absolutely outplayed G2 in this series. He was phenomenal. He literally lands his basically all his skills, and obviously it forces Wunder in a bad situation, even though Wunder is in a winning lane against a GP. So I wrote down a load of notes for this, and it was basically a game of global versus roam potential of G2. And as a whole, G2 were able to control bot lane for quite a lot of the early game. And you could tell that was going to happen with the split map situation. Now, when it comes to the actual first death, it's obviously going to be on the top lane, and it's obviously going to affect Wunder, who I believe flashes out of the situation, causing them to redive him, ballooning the early lead to the entire FPX team. Now, it also didn't help that 2 assists went over onto Doingby and Tian, and that allowed so much more freedom of the map for the two of them. What was even more worrying was a champion like Nautilus was able to outroam a pike throughout the game. So the one thing I'd like to point out though is the fact that there was a heavy, and I mean heavy, CS lead during the first 5 minutes of the game to G2. Every lane had a CS advantage minus the mid lane. And with that CS advantage in the mid lane, it obviously granted so much more roam potential for FPX that they were able to just go help top, kill Wunder off, and then basically give him a free laning phase. Okay, so jumping ahead to around 12 minutes, this is probably the kind of showcase of how powerful this FPX side were, and it was this delayed bait in a sense in the top lane. This is something that FPX did throughout the entirety of the series, was these delayed baits. And what happens is Perks steps forward trying to kill the minion wave, and with that in mind, he's obviously going to step into basically a range of a death sentence, and Crisp hits a phenomenal death sentence, pulling in Perks. And what was happened was Tian stayed around in the top lane brush for about 3 waves or so, and it basically allowed them to pick off Perks before he actually got going fully. He had the CS lead, and then from there, LWX was able to turn around, pick up a CS lead, and basically was just able to put this team on the back, while Doinby and Tian just absolutely outcarried G2. However, G2 weren't going to roll over that easily, as literally a minute later, mid lane, G2 pick up a kill onto Doingby, even though they traded Caps' life for it. They were slowly but surely picking up kills here and there, even though they were in sort of a we need to win sort of quicker, because FPX's squad had probably a far better scaling than what G2 did in this first game. And as such, they were kind of having to force sort of objectives, even though they weren't able to actually get them. Like, FPX had phenomenal objective control this entire series, and absolutely showed that in the final game, which we'll get to soon. But we're gonna see what next big play is after G2 take Rift Herald for an Ocean Drake trade. That's pretty much it in terms of that. Okay, so the next big play happens 47 minutes into the 20th minute, and Wunder gets caught out by Gimgoon and Doingby, who were basically defending their bottom lane first tier turret, and obviously Wunder has to back away, and here's the thing that probably cost G2 this entirety of the game. Caps TP's in, and with him TPing in, it kind of puts him in a situation, because the FPX members down there just immediately turn onto that teleport in, and and they basically have to try and slow him down enough, and in a very lucky escape, Caps flashes into the realm warp and actually escapes, but because his flash is down, because his teleport's down, that kind of gives FPX the go signal to keep chasing and look for a kill here. Now, the thing is, they don't get the kill. They get very close to, but because of that, they know, hey, we can turn onto Baron. If we see Caps nowhere near the Baron pit, we're going immediately onto it, all 5 members, and killing it off. Plus, it didn't help that Wonder's teleport was also on cooldown, and the only TP available was Perks's. So, with that in mind, FPX knew free Baron time, so they go clearing all the wards in the jungle, and they blast cone straight over into the Baron pit. No, they don't start yet, but they do know it's almost time to fight and win it, because they're in that power point in the game where they know they can pick a fight with all of G2 and win. Like a straight 5v5, they win it. And that was kind of the situation throughout the entirety of the game, because G2 weren't able to scale enough in order to stop that. Okay, moving on to literally the game-losing moments, and it's G2 deciding to turn onto this Infernal and burst it down. They kind of split themselves, 3 members on one side of the pit and 2 the other, and what happens is Tom Kench gets immediately caught out, and they immediately catch the other 2 members. One of them trying to TP away, which was Perks, and the other was Yankos, who tried to body block but immediately got kicked back in, and that basically cost them Baron, as Yankos was dead. The only 2 members alive was Caps and Wonder, and Caps gets this sneaky little pick onto Doinby, but FPX literally just burned down the Baron. They had enough power. It was still a 4v2. When G2 tried to basically collapse on him, the 2 members, they immediately get bursted out by the rest of FPX, leaving just Caps alive, who literally has to run away as FPX take the Baron and have literally mid lane pushing in, bot lane pushing. The only thing that isn't pushing is top lane, and they literally are trying to stop that. However, G2 collapse onto the member, and that's basically it for that fight. Literally nothing else happened other than the fact that G2 managed to scrape away an Infernal, but trade Baron for it, and G2 are basically hoping to get even further into this game, even though they are basically in late game now, and FPX already have Baron and a lot more power. So basically, they lose the game at this point, as there's not really much more they can do. I mean, FPX have a lot of standing gold on the field. They have a couple of tier 2 turrets alive they need to kill, so they're probably going to kill both of them and then look to end. They're hoping to crack open an inhib turret, which I do believe they do. So FPX actually do crack open an inhibitor from this play, as Caps stupidly turns around to kill a barrel while standing in a GP ult, and from this it allows FPX to basically push up to inhib turret and kill it for free, as G2 really have no actual big damage dealers that can clear waves, and so they just immediately push up. Doinby lands an insane hook onto Wonder, and they basically burst him out before he can realm warp away, thus giving them a free inhibitor. And that basically allows them to basically run it down, clear up whatever standing gold's on the field while they have Baron for another 1 minute and 20 seconds. Yeah, there wasn't much they could really take other than the base of G2 at this point, so they were basically using their back timers to get as much bent as possible and obviously win the game off that push. Now, as I said earlier, G2 weren't going to roll over and give up that easily, and at 34 minutes into the game and 55 seconds, G2 are basically still pushing. They're killing bot waves inhibitor turret and basically free killing it. Now, here's the thing though, they get caught out while doing this, and Doinby manages to stun up and burn a stopwatch out of one G2 member and then effectively kill off Caps. However, the Varus does get to free throw in until he's immediately bursted out, and then we're left with just 2 G2 members alive on low health. Now, they traded inhib for 3 lives here on G2 side, which is worth them at this stage of the game, because gold isn't that useful for FPX at this point, as they're at a 65k, and they're basically all full build, basically, and yeah, they get a free Elder off this FPX, which is it's a 3 Dragon Elder, which is nothing to scoff about. It's still a lot of power they're going to have here for next fight, whether it's over Baron or it's over the next game. Well, the game-winning push, and they do actually pick off Mickey just after the Elders died, which is a bad positioning on his part. He was getting caught out quite a lot this series, but not as much as Crisp. He got caught out quite a lot as well. Okay, so this is basically the end of the game, as FPX just burned down Baron and then just immediately turned towards G2 base. There's not much more they could have done here, G2, other than probably a better pick ban phase here. That probably would have won them the game. And as we'll see, if they banned Lee Sin, they probably could have done better. Alright, moving on to game 2. G2 basically are put in the same situation as the first game, where FPX ban out the Xayah, and G2 are forced to ban out the same things. They do ban out Nautilus this time, but they do let Kaiser and Ryze go over to FPX. Now, G2 obviously in response locking Yasuo and Gragas as they first picked a Gragas. They also pick up an Akali, which they have a lot of maneuverability, these champions. And G2 were hopefully looking to use their mobility to actually punish FPX and get around the map. Kind of like how Doinby has been doing this entire series, but one thing that stayed constant was the Lee Sin pick, and this Lee Sin was dominant throughout the entire series. He was everywhere, and in this game, that was the same. And what happens in this game is actually huge, as there wasn't really much G2 strength, as they were basically instantly cut down and killed off really before anything happened. Now, we're going to jump straight to the game-winning play here, and it comes literally at Baron. Yes, you heard me, Baron. What happens is FPX are insane. They literally sneak the Baron. They immediately go towards it. They take it. And there's not much G2 can do about it. The reason I say that is because G2 have literally no vision on the Baron as it spawns. And literally as it spawns, 20th minute into the game. And the only thing that kind of tips him off is Doinby's movement. He walks over a ward towards Baron, and then G2 walk towards there, and there's not much they can do about it. It's immediately dead. And from that, they Kleddle, they Realm Warp to force away Yankos from the pit. So he was not going to get anywhere near that. And from this, FPX were just able to balloon the lead they had. They just took outer turret for outer turret, and G2 had nothing they could do. FPX just backed away once they took outer turrets, and then just took all the gold they just earned and spent it on a lot of powerful items. Like the Kaiser bought up pretty much half of her Banshee's Veil, and then they just immediately killed their own jungle, and they're just insanely overpowered now. And it's not like G2 have been getting kills like they had in the last game. They only have the one to their name and one turret, meaning FPX had controlled the entirety of the game. And if we look at the vision, FPX have so much vision in the bottom half of the jungle and the top half of G2's jungle that G2 weren't really able to get anywhere near FPX. So after a quick pause, we return to the action where we're immediately jumping into G2 falling for another bait play. And what happens is they catch out the Galio and they think, oh, he's killable, let's kill him and burst him out. And then Galio flashes away back to the safety of his own team, and G2 think, oh, let's kill the Kaiser. She's actually on her own. And she was. But what they didn't account for was Galio ult and the rest of FPX collapsing immediately onto him, thus allowing the Kaiser to immediately just killer instinct away from where the Galio had ulted and then just outplay the rest of G2, basically bursting them out of the fight. It was a bait play that literally won them the game. They didn't really even need to bait them. They probably could have just straight 5v5 fought them and won the game from that. But one thing that we could note is there was literally no outplays able to be made from G2 because FPX played so cleanly and they didn't allow G2 any room to move in or show their strengths. So from that team fight, FPX were able to just walk it back down to G2's base and end convincingly. There wasn't much more that could have been said about that game other than it literally finished 4 kills to G2 and about 20-21 kills to FPX. There was no way for G2 to actually have come back into that game. They had no real scale, and what we see in this next game is G2 building scale and not even being able to get to that point in the game. So, looking at the third game, and the pick bans for this game were very similar to game 1, as FPX had taken blue side this time, and the one thing they changed was instead of basically banning out whoever, they banned the Kaiser from last game, and first picked the Xayah, as G2 basically banned out Rakan instead of the Xayah. So it was kind of a testament to how good they were. And what happened instead of that, FPX banned Xayah pick up Xayah first, and G2 respond with Rise and Nautilus. Now G2 had picked up the Nautilus this time instead of FPX, and it wasn't really used to the same success that FPX used it. But the one constant, yet again, that I've been mentioning over and over, Tian got his Lee Sin. Lee Sin was very dominant into this game, as yet again, FPX split the map with G2 down the middle. Instead of, they went vertical jungling instead of horizontal, which they're used to. And the reason this was so prevalent, it was again used to set up ganks up top to allow freedom for Gimgu to actually win his lane. Now this play sort of fell into the same thing that happened in the second game. 21 minutes into game, G2 are thinking, oh, we've got a free Mountain Drake, whereas FPX are thinking doubly of that and have gone straight onto Baron, as they just team fought with G2 and took a lot of their summoners away and also abilities. They've decided, hey, let's go straight onto Baron, let's kill it off just before a 50-50 is available. G2 do collapse in, but FPX, with their actual disengage, they use the Galio ult, they use the box, they use Lee Sin jumping away, and GP ult, all for them just to escape freely and get out with all 5 Barons alive. It was a very nice disengage off the Baron, and the one thing though that really annoyed me about this game, G2 wanted FPX to dive them and go after them, and FPX did pick up champions like Lee Sin again and Thresh, where they want to go into the enemy team, but they very rarely went diving headfirst into G2 without any knowledge of where everyone on G2 is. They played this phenomenally, and the fact that Tian was just able to just freely win the game for FPX, I'm basically saying Tian won this game for FPX. He played this series phenomenally, and G2 used a glacial augmented Vigar and kept the kills close, which was good for him. However, what happened was Tian was already behind G2 for this game-winning fight, and G2 knew he was there. They saw the Scryer's Bloom get popped, knowing that there was a member in their jungle. Now, also from this, they also knew that top lane was pushing, and Galio did the smart play. He went up to the top lane to show, forcing G2 to respond to him by pushing towards this second tier turret. Now, if you notice, Lee Sin is hovering in the jungle. He plays this safe. He's gone into a safe position, and he's just waiting for one champion to walk past him. And little do you know, Caps is the little bunny who walks straight into the Lee Sin kick combo, straight into the Galio, who's there waiting with open arms, and that is the go signal for FPX to basically go in and kill off G2. They isolate Perks here, and Perks cannot escape. Yes, he's playing an Ezreal who has basically 2 flashes, but the rest of his team are nowhere near him, meaning he's just dead. And then a phenomenal hook from Crisp kills off Wonder before he's able to do anything. Death Sentence is phenomenal from him. He played exceptionally in this series, and with the fact that 3 G2 members are dead and leaving just the support and the jungler alive, and then Caps is respawning, FPX used that opportunity to get an inhib and then the mid-tier turret and basically push out all their waves, basically giving them enough gold to buy up. They have 14 seconds on Baron, so it's basically we can't use this Baron to win the game, but we'll use it to put us in a winning position. And yeah, they used that Baron exceptional. A great pick onto Caps. Yes, he did miss his Sonic Wave, but he still got the kick, which set up Doinby so nicely with a kill. And then from there, the game literally was not in G2's hand. It became a, what can we do now? They've lost their inhib and they've lost their mid wave. The best thing they could do is scale. And with the fact that FPX weren't going to give them an opportunity to do that, and they just kind of crumbled. So the way FPX won was another Baron as soon as it spawned. Just straight onto it, Lee Sin checks it with a control ward and just starts it immediately. No wards in the Baron pit by G2. And the only thing that kind of tips it away is the True Shot Barrage from Ezreal. And then the Thresh Hook, Lantern going over into the brush, kind of noticed by Mickey, kind of just allowed them just to kill it. And then it was just a chase down. As soon as FPX killed the Baron, they just chased down all the members of G2. And that's basically it. That's how FPX won this final. They outplayed G2, a G2-esque style game. They took down all of G2's objectives that they could go for. They gave them very little in terms of things they could get, and FPX just outplayed every G2 member. And that is how this game went, and why FPX won this World Championship. Anyway, that is the end of this Anarchy analysis. If you enjoyed it, leave a like down below, subscribe if you're new around here or if you want to, and I will see you guys later. Peace out.